Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ball Agenda Reveal Show. Yay! Can I get a woohoo?
Woo!
Thank you. We're back again. It's been a little while, but we have so much content today. So on my left-hand side, I'm joined by the ever-able Mr. Chinadu Asinugo. How are you doing today, sir?
Chilling. We're excited to be back here, talk some football. Let's
All
get
right.
it.
I love it. And on my right-hand side, Mr. Mekawani, say something to the fans, please.
Yeah, happy to be back. Let's go. Let's get it.
Our studio was under construction due to COVID, and it's still undergoing some changes. So that's why we've been away for a while. But we're back today, and we're going to start off with the Champions League. Let's get into it. So how are you guys feeling about this first leg? We had some predictions in December, and some of them have come to pass, and some of them haven't. But we've seen pretty much almost all the games in the first leg. So how do you feel about your predictions so far, and what you think is going to happen in the second leg? I'll start with the Mecca.
Okay, yeah, so far so good. The only one that's looking a bit tricky right now is Juve Porto, which I still think Juve will go through, but that's the only one looking tricky at the moment. But the 50-50 one we mentioned between Chelsea and Atletico, which we thought would be the most even tie, I think, and it could have gone either way. And I just tipped Chelsea just because I felt they had a bit more attacking potential, and it was something I was really quite strong about, because I just felt, especially in two legs where away goals count double, I just felt Chelsea's ambition and risk would just give them that edge, and it kind of proved true today. Although you can say a change of manager, I even thought maybe that would go slightly against my prediction, because I felt Lampard made Chelsea's attacking. It's not as maybe automated, where like every player has a particular area of the pitch they must be. Every pass seems coordinated by Tuchel. But like under Lampard, I felt they were a bit more unpredictable, a bit more direct, which I thought could have caused Atletico a bit more problems than we saw today, because it was a bit slow. Again, they had a lot of the ball, but it was quite slow, and not many clear-cut chances were created. But I still felt that little bit extra in terms of attacking ambition and extra quality in terms of also being allowed to play, because I'm not saying Atletico don't have quality, but like I just felt Chelsea having those players starting, and plus what they had on the bench as well, doesn't surprise me that they just edged it. So yeah, that's the first prediction I made that I feel was looking quite good.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because a lot of Chelsea fans now, and I guess at the time of the appointment, were unhappy / didn't want to play under Tuchel because of that specific positional play.
Yeah.
That they think is too rigid and doesn't leave a lot for creativity. But it's also funny how the players said when they were trying to get Lampard out was he doesn't really give them instructions and just tells them to go express themselves. And it's kind of interesting the differences there between two managers, and how on your end you think that was one of Chelsea's strengths, but the players themselves were not happy in that system.
Yeah. So just before Chinedu goes, I can see that. I was talking more in terms of, especially for this specific tie, I felt. So not in general, like I do see the benefits of having that supreme offensive organization and those patterns, although it's not necessarily my preference all the time, because I feel it's quite turgid at times. And Chelsea, since Tuchel came, they don't really score many goals. It's quite cagey. It's quite 80% possession, 70% possession, but like there are not many chances created. You can say it's because of personnel, but I think I do like the unpredictability sometimes. But I was talking mainly about this tie, because Atletico can be they're incredibly drilled. Today they played 4-4-2 with their two wingers playing like literally as auxiliary for wing backs to mark Chelsea's wing backs. So it's pretty much a six at the back. So I felt playing really slow would play into Atletico's hands rather than the unpredictable style of Lampard. So, but yeah, it seemed to work well for them
in terms of this game today. I think a lot of people watched it and thought Atletico were really bad. Atletico were pretty bad because they didn't really test Mendy throughout. But I think a lot of the negative football is actually coming from Chelsea. Chelsea were fouling a lot before Atletico could even put together a couple passes, breaking up the play very quickly. And I think, and that was probably good tactically from Tuchel, but it wasn't Atletico completely being the only negative team. And the stats will probably say otherwise. But if you watched it, you would have seen that a lot of the time when Atletico were trying to string together a couple passes together, Chelsea would foul. And I think Simeone, maybe they obviously watch a ton of the matches, but maybe I don't know what he was expecting, because this is a Chelsea team that you should that you can
He was
go
just hoping for a mistake. Like he was just hoping for a mistake.
Yeah, but this is a Chelsea team that you can go
Legend-
out at. I don't think they're strong. I think the thing that was missing here was when you kind of looked at that Chelsea side, and I think this kind of what Let's Go, it seems like we always struggle with, is when we meet sides that are like Tuchel's Chelsea, sides that just keep the possession a lot and don't really try and penetrate you, don't really try and counter attack, just keep the possession and don't really create much in the final third. It's kind of you saw it at the start of the game where we're high pressing, but then also later points in the game where we're just sitting back and waiting, and they kind of just get confused about how to approach that type of game, and it ends up just looking very disjointed and just very tired. And I think that was kind of what happened today, and just allowed Chelsea to be super comfortable. And it could have easily been a 0-0, which probably was what they were. They probably were looking for a 1-0, but which would have been an okay result. But the moment of brilliance just kind of took it away and really shed light on the fact that Let's Go didn't really do much. But I don't think Chelsea also did much.
Yeah, I think end of the day, like the differentiator was a bit of the ambition that Emeka spoke about, because Athletic didn't have the ambition from the start. And Simeone's teams in the past, you've seen them go into games, and although they wouldn't be the most attacking team, but they show that drive, they show that willingness to actually get on the ball and make something happen. And that's not something we saw today. I think they were kind of like what you said, they were very content if the game ended 0-0, and sadly it didn't. So I think it'll be very interesting to see the approach to the next game and to see if they actually do take on a more attacking approach as opposed to sitting back and having, at some point they had a string of, you could throw a blanket over 6 of their players in the back line. So I think next game they'll be a bit more open and actually go for the game, go at the game. João Felix, Luis Suarez, hopefully Carrasco plays. I don't know if he's injured, and so
I think they want to also there was also a lot of sloppy play in the final third. Like Atleti did have opportunities to do more in the final third, and there was a lot of sloppy play. But yeah, on the balance of things, I don't think it was a really. I mean, both sides didn't really play that well, and I think that home advantage thing actually does come into play, because playing this, counting one as an away goal, and then playing this game where Atleti have to travel as well, and then also have to travel to Stamford Bridge for the second leg, I think is a disadvantage, and just kind of also something that's an advantage for Chelsea.
I'd agree with that. But again, just like when we were talking about Spurs in the past, for me, it's principle. Like you say that like there's a disadvantage, but the principle, the mindset, like forget home or away, like that. I feel yes, there's a slight disadvantage, but they didn't try. And Chelsea is so predictable, because you said how Chelsea are a bit defensive too in their own way, and like Guardiola always says, like possession is the best way to defend because you can't get counter. So Chelsea were just passing the ball. A lot of times it was quite aimless. They'll go wide all the time. Odoi and Alonso had all the space, and so they were defensive on that side where they kind of controlled the ball. My thing, like Chinedu said, Atletico didn't force the issue in the sense where like they were in the back 6, literally Lemar and Correa were at the back 6, and when they got the ball, they were too deep to counter attack because they don't have the legs to counter attack. So it seemed like they were already lost from the beginning because they were too deep. And of course, they'll have moments. They're a quality team. Like they would have a few things here and there, but I just don't get the plan. I don't know if Carrasco is injured, but this should have been the perfect game for.
I think it must
Carrasco.
be,
Because if you're going to counter attack, you need legs. You need legs. It didn't really make sense. The whole thing didn't make sense. But I don't think it's over by any means, because Chelsea, they can be counter attack because they defensively they're still not great. At any moment, Christensen or Rudiger, they just they can. And my cousin said, like a big Chelsea fan, at any moment you see like Rudiger like 2-3 feet ahead of the other guys, and they just lose their positioning. So they just need to be brave, man. I don't know. Yeah. Fear of faith, sometimes.
Yeah. Touching on the other games, though, I think one game that really shocked me was the PSG game. Not because they won, but because of how bad Barcelona was on the day and how good PSG were on the day. I think that's one that maybe, a lot of people would have backed PSG to win, but not by that margin. What do you guys think?
Actually, 1 second before we go into that, I want to actually just touch on Atleti again, because Atleti, Carrasco is injured. Trippier was out. Jimenez was out. Versalco was out. And that basically left Atletico without any of their natural wing backs and lots of injury problems. So I think the side was just really depleted for this time.
No, but they had
kind of
and they didn't play Lodi. So again, it still shows.
Yeah, but
Like,
that's
yeah,
kind of going under the
but that
radar
speaks
that
on
the side is very depleted going into
Llorente playing as
like
a
playing
wing back.
Llorente as your right back.
Yeah,
missing that.
I agree with that.
If
If they didn't put their natural left wing back on the bench, so like it's still like I get your point, but at the same time
it's also self-inflicted.
So if you have defensive, if you have like you said, okay, if you have Llorente or you have like guys out of position, fair enough. Like I get that, but
yes,
I don't know.
Is a double? It's kind of like
I feel
a
like
double.
that was decided because of what was happening on the right.
Because of what
maybe to try and bring
yes,
some balance.
yes.
And, yeah,
it's double jeopardy because you're taking Llorente, sticking him in on the right, and then you're messing up the midfield as well. It's kind of like what Liverpool is complaining about is that even when they can play, even when they can field Henderson and Fabinho, but they are fielding them in the back, then that still poses a problem in the midfield. So
you're playing basically three people in.
So you play
the back four, but then your right side is now not a right back. So you're essentially just telling everyone where to attack you from. I think that might be oversimplifying it, but I think this kind of had to be a patched together solution for this game because of how many people were out. So I think that before people just get on Simeone's back, that it was super negative. His hands are really tied in terms of personnel that he had to choose from.
Yeah, I think like Emeka said in the day, they are still very much in it. One goal, they can go, and on any given day, I feel like Athletic I back them to win. I think they can go and score 3 goals on the day and keep a clean sheet as well. So it just depends on what version of them shows up next game. If Simeone can get them riled up enough next game, I think they still stand a huge chance.
You talked about PSG Barca. I think it's really sad that Lionel Messi has to play under Ronald Koeman. It's really sad and unfortunate. And I saw that some people were talking about Ronaldo being on that payload. That's difficult for him to be on like a new coach. But remember, Ronald Koeman played Dominic Calvert-Lewin as a wing back at Everton. Ronald Koeman doesn't actually know what he's doing anymore. So there was a time when Ronald Koeman was a decent coach, got Everton knocking on the door of European football. But it's really sad that Messi is playing these current.
So are you saying now that the blame should go to Koeman for that Barcelona performance? Because I don't see how.
One, they have a bad coach. 2, that team is
awful,
dreadful.
Yeah.
When you think of who could come off the bench, they're bringing on Braithwaite. They're bringing there's nothing.
They brought on a right back, Mengueza or something.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible.
Well, no. That there's a reason for that because I think I already called that they would bring off Dest. Dest was just.
Oh no, bro! Like no, of course you bring off Dest.
You know the Americans hate that though.
Oh, who's coming?
Sorry, NBC Sports. Yeah. Sorry to our friends over at CBS and NBC Sports. But he was being done by Mbappe.
Yeah, but who's coming? That's the thing. So I'm saying, so you take off Dest because he was awful and he got ripped apart. But you're bringing on Mengueza.
Yeah. But he got ripped apart because of the system. Like it's like Koeman had no idea that PSG would want to play on the counter attack, and that's where Mbappe would be trying to run from. It was just such a very confusing performance with how much space they were getting in behind. Like that's one of the basics. Like that's even if you think back to World Cup, how Argentina lost to France. Like that's just the basics. You can't be that high against.
Well,
PSG have up front.
They don't change. Even if they don't, no matter who it is, they don't change how they play.
Who are your defenders? Yeah. You have an aging PK, aging Longley.
That pride.
It's
that pride. So it's take or twist. Like
so you say Busquets as well starts in the middle of the park.
Yeah. At the same time, like you said, they're weak and they're weak defensively. But all they have is ball players. From fullbacks to centre backs, De Jong, Busquets, it's all ball players. So the idea that you might want them to counter attack, like Barcelona is never going to do that. So unfortunately, you live and die by your sword, and they chose to still try and beat Barcelona, and having like the biggest pitch in Europe as well. They were always going to get destroyed on the counter, but that was Barcelona.
You know what's funny is now the old guard is looking just out of sorts and out of place. Because I was watching Jordi Alba and his runs into the box, and I remember at his peak when Messi puts his head up, he's already picked him out.
Always
that doesn't happen anymore. The whole team just looks like
about Alba really.
No. I'm not blaming him. That's my point. I'm saying that now the team is just so disjointed and disoriented that it just doesn't click anymore. He makes those same runs, the ball just doesn't come to him, and then all the time he has to raise his hand and walk back with rejection. But yeah, I think the team's just not in the right shape. At some point, FDJ Frankie De Jong was playing centre back, I think, when they were pushing forward, which he's done in the past, but still, like, I don't see how they can get out of this without getting rid of the old guard and just starting over, you know?
Like, this is what we talked about before with poor recruitment. Barcelona continued to, or for a while, and continue to waste money on people that they buy. You buying Pjanic doesn't, like, I don't even understand. Pjanic isn't even playing.
That was a money laundering scheme. It was a money laundering scheme with Arthur.
There's so many transfers, like, even dates back to Ada Turan days. Like, there's just so many transfers that you just squint your eyes at, like, Braithwaite. Like, what are we doing here? Like, there's so many young players that they could have brought in that by now would be 23, 24, 25. They just buy these 30-year-old players and don't even play them, and then get confused as to why you have
pay them
Messi and 18-year-olds.
Same wages as well. Like Pjanic that's not playing is on almost like 200 grand a week. He's not playing. He's 30 plus already. He's just not offering anything. Just there.
No, I think that had to be money laundering with Arthur, because Arthur had no reason to go to Juve and Pjanic to come to that.
Very subtly, that's how you kill a club. Poor recruitment and poor wage structure. Because that's what you've done at Arsenal with all these players that they're having to ship out. Like, it really stops you from being able to get anyone. And you go for 4 years when you go down. And now it's Messi and a bunch of 18-year-olds, and they think that they can really achieve something. And the reason why I say that this is really on Koeman more than anything is, if you look at PSG's domestic form, PSG have 19 points from 9 games. That's the worst ever start for a PSG manager in the Arab money era. So it's not as if Pochettino has really revitalized the team and they're playing at their absolute best. They just met a team that played into their hands, and that's just a bad team. And it was 100%. A pretty easy and straightforward game, to be very honest.
Yeah, that's a terrific summary.
So Mbappe's performance overhyped, overrated, or, you know?
I didn't see much change my mind about Mbappe. Mbappe is still what I thought before. Like, those were goals that he has scored before and will score again. I don't think, and also because of the strength of this team and how poor the team is, I don't think I could really read too much into this performance.
I was watching Payem does not believe Mbappe is a good player.
I really loved Verratti in this game. That first assist. It's little things that I see that just make me really appreciate the play. And that goes back to when I told you Verratti is better midfielder than Thiago Silva. But we'll get into that later. Verratti glanced twice before that touch into Mbappe for the first goal. And it's so subtle, like you don't even see it. But if you just look only at Verratti, he looks his right once and looks his right again before the ball comes and just flicks it. And that makes the goal. Things like that, I think, are just incredible to me. So, and he also basically busted midfield entirely. So that was my player of the game.
No, I think that's something that PSG has done very well, is their recruiting of seemingly done midfielders, like when you look at Herrera or like Idrissa Gana Gueye, but fantastic players in their own right. And they were able to show that in this last game. I think they fielded to start with like 3 DMs, and then they brought on an additional one. They started, DM/CM. So they played Verratti, played Paredes, played at some point Danilo came on, Herrera came on as well. So I think they're made on any day can hold any single midfield in the world. They're not the best and they're not world beaters, but they've done a good job in recruiting there.
I agree.
Because if you're weak in your midfield core, then really your attack can be a Ferrari and you just keep on losing games. That's your business. You know?
Yeah, I think their midfield looks okay against a team like Barcelona. But again, if they face a team like Liverpool who are just running around the entire midfield, they'll get found out. Or if they face a team that's much better in possession,
Liverpool as in Fabinho, Ederson.
Yeah, if they play that midfield, they'll get found out.
I agree with him because you don't have. I feel so, like you said about having a Ferrari attack. Like, yes, they attack, but you need, like, apart from Verratti, who can do, and he's not even an assister, but he has moments of brilliance. Like, he's like a Scholes type, that kind of player where you have those moments of brilliance, but he's not going to be giving you that final ball. So they don't really have that. I mean, Di Maria can do that from the right, but Paredes, Guy, Herrera, they're all playmakers / spoilers. So I think against like the best teams, so let's say you can beat a lot of teams because you have that firepower. Like let's use basketball analogy. Like you have the Nets, like Brooklyn Nets. Like once you have Mbappe, Neymar, you can beat anybody on your day. But against the best, like against a Bayern or something, like you might need over 2 legs. You might need a bit more because all these guys, even in the league, they're struggling. Like Pochettino has been criticized already because he's starting Guy, Herrera, and Danilo against some average team in France. So you need a bit more in midfield, but with that attack on their day, they can beat anyone.
What do you think about Liverpool, Leipzig?
I think that would bring us to our next point about Liverpool. And yeah, I mean, Liverpool, they are a very, 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 very interesting one in the year of 2021 because their fall has just been as quick as Bayern's predicted it to be. They've had multiple injury woes, but then on top of that, they're just not gelling. They're not clicking. So I was surprised to see them beat Leipzig, although both of the goals were, as we say in the hood, Osho free, actually.
A woof.
So, a woof. But I mean, still held on for the point. So I think Leipzig comes in next game and they throw everything they have at it. And I think it could actually set up to be a very nice game. If Leipzig gets the first goal early, I think it sets up to be a nice tie.
Yeah.
Emeka, what do you think?
Yeah, for me, I mean, everybody's going on about Liverpool, so I don't want to just keep beating a dead horse. But in terms of the Champions League, like you said, they got some fairly lucky goals.
Fairly lucky. They passed both.
He's trying to be a proper pundit.
United fan, I'm not trying to bash them. But in terms of Champions League, I'm telling you, I still want to write Liverpool off. Like I fear those guys. Like Madrid, when it comes to Champions League, I'm telling you, those guys they perform miracles. It's unlikely this year, but I'm telling you, you'll be surprised. And I think the next leg they'll probably be maybe a score draw, or they'll beat Leipzig maybe by an odd goal. But in terms of like if we're talking generally or Champions League, but in terms of Champions League, it was a fairly good away performance. I'm not going to say I don't think they were dominated. It was back and forth. It was back and forth, and they got lucky goals. Fair enough. But if my team came away with that, I'll say it was a good away, solid Champions League. And you move on because they were in a terrible run of form. And again, I'm sure people were waiting for that game to go as they would have thought and banter them and everything. But they got the job done. Yes, slightly fortuitously, but you move on. And I wouldn't write them off for Champions League at all. Trust me.
Liverpool make top 4.
No. Well,
just yes or no. Don't explain. Just yes or no. We'll get
no. It's not even about top 4. I've already said my no. I wanted to say about we were talking about game tactics and
to me
game and how they're all getting muscle injuries. It seems Henderson walked off last time with another muscle strain. So I think it might continue down the line unless they stop playing the kind of attacking football they are. Not attacking, but high pressing. They're going to keep on getting injury woes. And Van Dijk has been in the gym coming back for a long time. Long story short, they're not making top 4. Long story short, they're not making that top 4.
I think they will.
One more injury.
I think they will
by the skin of 6.
By the skin of their teeth, I think they will make it.
Just always one of the attackers, they're not making
mix.
No, but
top 4.
I think they will make it by they will make 4th on the last day. But I just have too much confidence in those guys. I just feel like they will make it just because the people above as well. To be honest,
what do you think is the team that they put out in their next game?
I think Phillips Kabak centre back. I think
Kabak and what's his name, Williams or Phillips? Not Phillips. He may or may not be. I think he's still out for a bit.
I think it would be. I mean, long time it would be Kabak.
Who'd you say?
But yeah.
Oh, Fab. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. It's likely to be Thiago, Wijnaldum,
Gini.
That's their actual biggest problem.
And Curtis Jones.
No, Curtis Jones. Their biggest problem is in their mid because a lot of times Thiago is on paper is supposed to be that one sitter, but a lot of times when I watch them, at least it looks like Wijnaldum is the sitter because Thiago likes to do that roaming around thing. And I can't just see Wijnaldum breaking down play for anybody and getting the ball back. So I think their biggest problem is in the mid, but that's caused because
I
they have
fullback.
problems at the back.
Yeah,
Sorry?
I think in big
And they have a
fullbacks.
big problem at right back. I told you this Trent guy has
Yeah,
been playing rubbish for like 2 years now, but people are still
I
living
think
in
the
past
the
glory.
biggest problem is fullback because that was where. So, like you said, but you know how you said like the whole double. This is like triple jeopardy, like just shifting everything around, moving midfielders back, moving no centre back. So Trent and Robertson again, they're still trying, but again, that confidence is not there. They're getting counter attacked. But yeah, Trent hasn't been playing well. I mean, yeah, if I am said it, like he's been saying it, but yeah, Trent hasn't been playing awful. But I think is symptomatic of what's been going on in the team. And the fact that if those guys usually got like 12, 13 assists in the league alone. So imagine how many goals that are not coming in now. They're not even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. What was the next one that we're going to get to? Oh, before that, I was going to say, sometimes ball just comes to Trent and he just kicks it. He just like you see him just literally kick the ball. And you're like, were you trying to pass to someone, or you just like? And I get so confused about what he's trying to do. So like, they're not even crosses, they're not even passes. It just seems like he's just trying to make contact with the ball and just put it up forward. And I just get so confused because the Trent of before was these deep crosses that right on Firmino,
and it's also
I just kicks the ball
low key. Their style of play has kind of changed because peak Liverpool would hit those long balls over the top a lot. They used to do that a lot. Like, and now with Thiago on the team, I don't know if that's a Thiago thing or just a system thing, but like now they don't hit those balls as much. Where like now it's more like Thiago trying to feed the ball into the striker, and a lot of times Salah and Mane look kind of confused making those runs. Like it's not the same dynamic at all.
and it's everywhere, so, even down the spine. Because Alice has also been.
And then when it's always going to be, I think it's always going to be multiplied. Like your issues will always be multiplied when you have a striker who isn't really a striker, right? So you can't rely on him to just bag you goals, get you out of those tough spots. And so now Firmino looks even shittier, also, excuse my language, even worse than before. So the end is not really in sight for them. I think when they start getting their players back, then we can talk about top four.
It's going to be a very, very exciting top four race. I'm actually so psyched for it. Juve Porto, what do you think? I remember I said Porto can frustrate just having watched them play City and that 0-0 that they played, and even at the Etihad they frustrated them for a bit. So it would have been the perfect result if it was 2-0, but 2-1 now opens the door a little for Juve to take it to run and do something. But what do you think, Emeka?
So I think Juve will still go through, but yeah, we were a bit too dismissive of Porto, to be fair, especially with the Juve team that is in transition and they just seem quite disjointed to me. And in the game, I feel Porto, they should have hung on. Like it was a silly way to concede at the end, and that completely changes the tie and makes them makes them least favorites, whatever. In terms of how the game went, Porto were fantastic. I felt they pressed them high, and they were just energetic. They were very, very energetic. Jesus Corona especially really impressed me. I remember like the overhead kick he tried. Just things like that, like little bits of magic like that. And Juve just looks so disjointed at the moment. They look old. They just look like they don't look really comfortable in their system. They still keep playing this 4-4-2. It just doesn't look good at all. And I just feel Pirlo is learning on the job. And it's costing them. I don't see them going too far in the competition. But in terms of this game, Porto definitely let one slip because I think Ronaldo's going to do Ronaldo thing second leg, and that'll be that.
Why did he drop Morata? That was just kind of needless, given that he's the top scorer in Champions League.
Yeah, exactly. So that's part of what we're saying. Like he just doesn't seem to know his best 11. Sometimes he plays Morata. Sometimes he'll play like Kulusevski, play Chiesa. Like he just like chopping and changing. Ronaldo is obviously the constant in big games, but he just doesn't seem to know what he wants to do. Sometimes he plays Ramsey. He'll play Ramsey wide. It's like I just don't get what he's doing sometimes.
I can't understand how they started because they had on the field Bentancur, Rabiot, and McKinney. So and Kulusevski, which means that essentially McKinney was probably playing the wings.
Yeah,
I remember I was talking about Pirlo
thing.
Sorry, yeah.
So that Atletico kind of four like midfielders in a 4, yeah.
I remember I was talking about Pirlo the last time, and he was one of the people that we highlighted as did he really deserve the job because he's a legend of the game. And I think there's this trend, where a lot of football players become managers, and seemingly they're not ready for the job. And I think Pele was one of those people that he just isn't ready for the job, if you ask me. And he's learning on such a high-profile job where Juve, this could have been a decent run for them. I'm not saying they could have won champs by any stretch of the imagination, no. But this could have been a decent run just because nobody except Bayern and PSG maybe really have their stuff figured out. So I just think that the football community as a whole, like in terms of the hiring, the people in charge of hiring have to rethink the whole hiring legends as managers, because it doesn't always translate to.
And I think there's a little bit, yeah, Emeka, go.
Oh, sorry, that's not be a hot take here. Like, do you know why I think that is? Because if you look at European football right now, I think almost all the big teams, whether they're like big historically or the historically big teams, let me say, they're all in transition, right? So you see, you see Chelsea transition, Arsenal transition, United transition, Bayern before they started.
Would you say Chelsea are in transition?
Yeah, no. So when they brought Lampard, where they didn't have a transfer ban, so they were in the situation where they had the transfer ban, so they were playing all these Mounts, Abrahams. So it was a season of like transition to kind of come into this one now where they signed a lot of players. Bayern were as well before they sacked. Who was their old manager? What's his name? Kovac. They sacked Kovac. They had like a lot of old players. They were playing Boateng is still playing now, but their team was very kind of mismatched at the time, and it was a thing where they weren't doing as well. Then obviously they had to sack him. But so Bayern was Man City. Okay, Man City obviously they hired Guardiola, that's fine. But if you look at those big teams, the reason that is happening is because it's almost like a placeholder, and you want that kind of your legend to come and help you go through that transition. Whereas the thing where so Lampard, the transfer ban, when they're having bad moments, it's like it's Lampard, and trust me, once it flips, you buy personnel. Once that guy starts having a bad time, he's gone, because it's also going to be easy to remove a manager like that in the sense where he's not on high wages. You can now go and get a big name. So I think these guys are coming in to ease that transition. Arteta comes in after the whole Emery nonsense, the vitriol he got. Let's bring in a nice guy, nice face, Arsenal legend, won trophies with us, blah, blah, blah. Easy. Solskjaer, Champions League winner, the final kick in 99. Like, it's like an ease. Like after Mourinho's issues, bring a friendly face, blah blah blah. So I think I genuinely think that's the mode at the moment, because a lot of teams are going through that, and that's the face to bring it. But I can guarantee you, all these guys, they are also very easily dismissible. And once, like you see with Chelsea, once that bad run comes and they've been able to kind of come out of that transition phase with signings, it's easy to go and get a big name that's available. And I think that's why that trend is at the moment. If you just think about it, I think.
Point. Yeah,
I think that's a great point, and you kind of keep the fans on board for transition period is usually tough. So
they want a place they can relate to. Yeah,
Juve as well.
Juve, you'd even say probably Madrid are even in a transition.
Madrid.
It's a little better because the manager is very successful, but they're also in a transition. Coleman, exactly the same at Barcelona, but they're going to end up hating him because I don't think he's keeping the fans on board.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a way to just pacify the fans, but I can guarantee you, once things change a bit, a big name is available, it's gone. Even Pochettino is a former PSG player as well. Again, it might not be the same, but like they were trying to do the whole like romanticizing it. If you see when he was coming in, they had the whole old PSG connections. So it's a kind of trend at the moment, I think, to try and pacify fans to some extent.
I think I also don't really like how, I guess, the pride of these ex-players to not want to just do the hard work in lower leagues. The person I'm actually super excited for coming to
Gerrard
is Gerrard, actually.
Thank you.
From
Thank
Rangers.
you.
Because he's under the radar, just putting in those 10,000 hours away from all the media rubbish, focusing on actually being a good manager,
the football,
and just building a team and actually getting towards some success and doing it in the Europa League, like just taking a job that's reasonable, manageable, and where you can actually focus on man management, working on your tactics, not having to deal with media pressure all the time, and just come and also build your resume with a few years under your belt. A lot of these managers either don't want to do that out of pride, or I think most of it is pride.
But can you blame them for taking the jobs though?
Why would you want to be the Chelsea manager?
You can't turn it down, bro.
I don't blame them. And that's why I said I would blame the people that the decision makers, because they are the ones thinking in that realm of damn, let's go bring Lampard into the club, nice face, whatever. I don't blame them for taking the job, because at the end of the day, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get they're trying to get to that point. So if you're saying, hey, get there right now, then why not?
But I think they approached Arteta and he said time wasn't right. And I still think time wasn't right when he took it, but he said he knew it wasn't right then. To wait, do the experience with Pep, and then come later. So I think maybe when they had Emery, they were trying to look at Arteta. At least a little bit of caution there, but
not everybody has.
But I think people
I'll say that not everybody has the luxury of being, Pep's understudy in a very good City team, right? So some of these guys, like now, if Lampard didn't take the job, he'd be in Derby, right? That's not the same. I don't think you're getting.
There are jobs out there. If Arteta wanted to be the coach of Bournemouth right now, he could be the coach of Bournemouth. Before
the Arsenal job is your point?
Yeah.
That's fair. I can see that.
But if you got the chance again, like I like, it's easy to say I get you, but like you always, like, if you go to Bournemouth and you have a crappy time, you might never get the opportunity again. So sometimes
that's your end goal. Yeah.
But if you go to a big club, have a horrible time.
It's a gamble. But what if you do well? Because you have more resources. You have better players.
Look at Zidane, for instance.
But if you don't do well, you're exposed forever because you have more resources.
I agree. But again, it's a gamble, and I'd rather gamble on if you have a good team, you have money, you have better players than going to a Bournemouth. Yeah, you might be able to show yourself, but at the same time, you might have a terrible time in the Championship, but you might never come back. The truth is
that football fans would. Sorry, Emeka, what did you say?
I said no. So if you go to the Championship, that illusion and you have a bad time, that illusion that you might be the guy might be gone forever. So sometimes you just have to take a gamble. It's a gamble either way. You might go and never come back, and you might go the Moyes route. Now he's now rebuilding himself again. So,
exactly. I was going to say about the rebuild, right? Is that I think people will forget. Like, for instance, look at Lampard, and he's done a bad job, whatever. If he goes back down to the Championship, does a decent job there, I guarantee he can come up and take over the likes of, you mentioned Bournemouth or whoever it is, West Brom, and then from there build up the reputation again. So I think it's kind of like that. You can go straight to the top, take that risk. If it doesn't work, fall back down, build yourself up again, go the actual route. So I think it's easy for them to take it. I just have a problem with the decision makers for even thinking that route, because you look and you say, okay, this guy has retired from football. I mean, I guess they take it that because you played the game, you have such a deep understanding of the game, so you can easily translate that to management. But then there's stuff like man management, right? And that's something that's so key in these big clubs, is there are multiple personalities that you have to manage. And if you can't manage those personalities, you're not going to get the best out of the players. So at the end of the day, you're shooting yourself in the foot just to have a nice face at the door smiling.
Yeah, because a lot of these people don't have anything on their resume. Even Solskjaer at United, there's pretty much nothing on his resume before United. Arteta, it's pretty much nothing on his resume. Lampard was the manager at Derby for 1 year. There's nothing on his resume. So I think a lot of these are not merit-based. They're just, like you said,
and that's why I at some point back Steven Gerrard to take over at Liverpool, because especially based on what's going on.
Yeah, he will, but he will have something on his resume.
I think it's
exactly
leaving in like 2023 or 2024, something like that. So you definitely, yes, Gerrard definitely take over if he continues like this.
In 2021, he just doesn't know
yet. You're gonna call me.
The illusion about these managers. Just a quick one before we move on. Lampard, remember when he came in? And because of the transfer ban and the young players, they were doing it was a philosophy shift where Chelsea were going to go younger, use the academies. Then the season ended and they went and spent 200 million on big signings. So it just shows that they brought him in pretty much. I don't know if it was false pretenses to him, but it was false pretenses to the fan, because they made it seem like, okay, he's part of the philosophy change, but there was no philosophy change. They just ended up spending back £1 million pounds in the next summer when they went to the Champions League. So he was doomed to fail from the beginning. He was just there as a prop, and once they started flopping, it was going to be gone.
Yeah.
What do you think about today's Lazio Bayern?
Unfortunately, Lazio, they were already going to lose, but they just shot themselves in the foot. But for me, what stood out was
set up really well. I think his player the player.
It was Musiala. That was what really impressed me today. I thought Bayern would win comfortably, but Musiala was what impressed me today. 17 years old. And I don't know how Chelsea let him go. I don't know how they let him slip through the academy net to Bayern, to be starting Champions League knockout round at 17 and getting a big goal like that. It's super impressive. It just looks like almost like a young Muller in sense of like awareness and positional sense. Like he's so smart. It's not the quickest, but yeah, technically sound, and yeah, just very, very intelligent player. And he's just 17. So big ups to him. Big ups to Flick for trusting him in a game like that.
Yeah, he was an absolute bright spark, and I think they didn't miss Muller at any point today. I also wanted to say Coman was very, very, very good today. Maybe not the goal to show for it or the assist, but I think he was a bright spark throughout the game as well. And it's good to see Leroy Sané getting a goal always. I'm a huge Sané supporter. So
I think Inzaghi set up the way he should have, and system was right. And if not for one conceding early goals from mistakes like that, if you're in the game for a bit longer, I think it's a lot more tricky for Bayern. But they basically sold the game before the end of the first half, and they were done.
Yeah, Coman is such an enigma. Like for me, he's such an he has all the tools to be incredible.
So Coman is my favorite player.
He just
no, he can't be. How is your favorite player?
Because Coman on his day is unplayable.
On his how many days are those?
Exactly.
That's the beauty of him. Just when you get him on his day, you can't play him.
He has that Martial. Like I just wish
Martial is nowhere near Coman.
No, I'll tell you what. In terms of the mentality, they just don't want it enough. And
they don't want it enough. They don't want
Coman,
every day.
You can understand Coman. Coman's won everything. What is Marcel done for Marcel?
No, it doesn't matter. Not because he won everything.
Coman did not win everything because of his individual brilliance. He won everything because he was on very good teams.
If Marcel was in,
he cannot be satisfied with his career. Coman cannot be satisfied with his career.
So many people will have played 30 years and do not have half the career Coman has.
He's a blessed young man. That's what he is. But he cannot be satisfied with his individual career.
Coman should be one of the best wingers in the world. Unfortunately, just
exactly
injuries plus the hunger is just not there.
Yeah, he doesn't. Some days he wants it more than anybody on the field, but those days are very few and far between. Yeah. And that's the sad thing.
Then those days he wants.
I think there were a lot more of those days under Flick, or there have been a lot more of those days under Flick. So it might be.
No, I think Flick, and that's why we talk about man management. I think Flick is one of I can't tell because I don't watch every single one of their games, but from what I've seen, he gets his entire team to buy into their roles and what they have to do for the team. When Perisic was on the team last season, he bought wholly into his role, right? And so I think it talks about like the man management aspect is getting people to buy into your system and their roles on the teams, and that's something he's very good at, it seems.
And he knows all these players really well from national team, so they know him, they trust him. And this was just a very seamless transition for a lot of them. And back to what we said before when we talked about this the first time, he knew the people that he needed. It was kind of how, if you watch the Spurs All or Nothing, when they found out Sissoko was a big name in dressing room, you kind of have to have those people on board so that they can bring the players on, especially when there's a new coaching team.
First thing he did was restore Muller, wasn't it?
Is the best way to get people back on track because that's someone dressing room loves and wants to play with. Yeah,
I think the last double-digit goals and assists. No, I was just shouting at Muller, double-digit goals and assists, isn't it?
Yeah, Muller is one of those players that I think just honestly just because of how he looks, people won't give him the credit he deserves. But Muller is one of the greatest
also style of play
of our generation.
Yeah,
and I think
also style of play.
Don't give him his credit.
People like that whole power pace. Trickery, and if
I think it's because he doesn't do tricks. That's probably it. Because Muller is literally one of the greatest players of our generation.
Yeah,
everything.
He's the way he plays. There's nothing aesthetically pleasing about his game, but it's
yes.
But you can appreciate if you understand football. You can appreciate his like spatial awareness. His finishing is good. Off the ball is good. He has incredible mentals. Like again, another football manager analogy, guys. If you see Muller's mental attributes, they're all like 18 out of 20. Then you go physical, like finishing is good, but technique is good, but like
technique is quite good.
The thing about Thomas Muller,
for a top class player, his technique is good, but it's not incredible.
Yeah, the thing about Muller that's different from love, the players that people love are people like Mbappe. When you have one or two attributes that are like 10s, like your pace is a 10. Your skills or your trickery is like a 9 or an 8. Like people love
and those are the flashy, sexy.
Thomas Muller will give you literally 7.5 in everything in football, from heading to passing to finishing to special awareness, to whatever attribute you want, to give you 7.5 across the board, but nothing that will get you off your seat and be like, okay, that's a 9, that's a 10. And,
you know who it
that's
kind of
why
reminds
I think
me of, bro?
One of the greatest ever.
Do you know who?
Who?
He's someone that plays football right now. I think he plays for Manchester United or something.
No. Bruno is better at certain things. He's much better at certain things than he is at others. Like, you wouldn't.
No, I know.
Like
all round,
literally what you call an all-rounder.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do anything so exceptionally well. He's just good at everything that he does.
Yeah. I think players like Muller go into that realm where kind of like exactly what Mecca said is that mental is 10 times, not 10, but 5 times more than or better than their actual physicals. So
and also just longevity.
Like look at when I think of someone like I've watched play like that was like Daley Blind or someone like that, where he looks like he's going to get beat every time, but if he knows when to like commit versus when not to commit. He knows when he's going to get beat on the run, that kind of thing. If you're smarter than the more physical player, then typically you'll be better. And I think that's what Muller does. He just uses his brain and he's better.
Yeah.
And longevity. Muller came out so long ago that people forget. This guy's
he's had what five
30
World
now
Cups?
Or something. And he's been playing
5 World
years.
Cups. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Muller. Muller called me.
Well, Muller played in 5 World Cups.
No, it's maybe like
that's not possible now.
He has played 4.
Could it be?
He has played. I swear.
Did he play in 06?
Bro, let me see.
No.
Episode.
Did he play in 06? That's not possible.
He played 10 in South Africa.
06 would have been like 16 or 15.
Yeah, he played 10. He played 10 in South Africa.
Yeah, he's played 3.
Oh, he has just played 3. What a crap.
Yeah, and he has a really good goal scoring record in World Cups and Champions League and everything. The last one I think that's happened was Sevilla Dortmund. I think the late goal for Sevilla was really, really important for setting up a nice tie when they take it to Dortmund. But
it's done.
You think it's done?
It's done.
I mean, you shouldn't be conceding 3 away goals in any match.
Nah. It's beyond done. It's done.
Don't be so dismissive because this.
I've dismissed.
It's done. The robots.
Do you know why I wouldn't be so dismissive?
Top 5 striker.
Do you know why I wouldn't be so dismissive?
Top 5 striker in the world.
Do you know why I would be so dismissive?
Yeah, why? Why? Let's hear it.
Because one of these teams has European pedigree, getting the job done. One of these teams has never been in any situation with high pressure
Europa
and
League.
the job done. Don't call it the Europa League. It's big European competition, big teams, Uniteds, Liverpool's. They've beaten big teams to get the top prize, whether it was Europa League or not.
Yeah,
bro. I think on the final day when they need to get the job done,
if Erling Haaland,
I think it will be a much tighter game. I mean, it might not be tight, but I'm saying just don't write them off because these players know what it takes to get the job done on European stage.
If Erling Haaland and Jadon Sancho are fit, it's done.
Back that.
Fair enough. That. How about tomorrow's fixtures? What are you thinking?
I think Man City, that's an easy dub because of their form. A lot of things have happened. I think the last time when we spoke about this, it was like, who knows, Mönchengladbach. But I think Man City does an easy dub just because they're running through everybody right now. They're feeling it. Pep has a lot of his players are coming back. KDB just came back. Aguero on the bench. Jesus back as well. So I think he's spot for choice when going into this game. I think they edit. Real Madrid, I always back them because I feel like they have the pedigree, to always win a European tie. So I go for them tomorrow as well. But I think it'll be close, like 2-1. I think City's will be closer to 3-0.
Yeah. For Man City, I would say just first of all, obviously they're in incredible form. I believe 17 wins in a row. I think the reason why I think it'd be comfortable is just because Borussia Mönchengladbach are going to play into their hands. They're going to try and play football, and they'll give, but they're going to try and play. And yeah, I think City will pick them off. Maybe I see like a 2-3-1 win to City. So Madrid, Atalanta. I don't know if we did predictions for that one last time because I'm trying to remember. I don't have like any previous. Did we? But like,
I think we said that Los Blancos will get the job done.
Yeah. We said European pedigree,
don't.
but we said Atalanta would give them a problem.
I don't know if I'm feeling that way right now. I'm slightly edging to an Atalanta win tomorrow. I don't know about the tie. I'm not talking about the tie, but tomorrow I think Atalanta might win 2-1.
Why?
Madrid are not in the best form, and I'm just not impressed with when I watch
Close
them
the
play.
gap domestically.
But that's more about Let's Go's falterings, I believe. I think Madrid had that European pedigree, which will probably edge them through the tie. But Atalanta at the Joy Stadium, whatever they call it, how they pronounce it, at home, and the football they play with Gasperini, I think they
fun fact.
Madrid. And I think either Varane or Ramos are out. One of them are out, if not both. So I think I'm going to go for Atalanta 2-1.
Fun fact: they've not won a Champions League game at home this season.
I mean, those are the types of stats that always mean they're probably going to win your next
anyway, I don't really take much stock into home anyway this season. Like I told Fayam, but I don't.
Yeah.
For me, I just they're gonna play on the front foot, and I feel they can cause Madrid problems, especially without their at least one of their essential defenders tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I can check that. I can confirm that. But yeah, overall in the tie, again the pedigree, Madrid will probably edge it, but I think tomorrow it will either be a 1-1 or 2-1 to Atalanta, I think.